Morning solo challengers, welcome to session 5, LayerCake Interval Blocks. So I'm here ready this morning to go out and do my session 5. This session is one that I created around about 4 years ago for one of my clients specifically, and I've used it a few times since. It's quite a nice little neat session, so I hope you enjoy it. Managed to weave the name cake into there as I was trying to think of a name for it today. Hopefully you'll understand why I've called it layer cake. So the idea of the session is you're going to find your threshold pace, a recovery pace, and then we're going to have an all-out blast. So to find your threshold pace, you might already know what that is. It's your best effort for around about an hour. So if you've just gone and done your 10K, you're going to have a pretty good idea because it's going to be somewhere around the hour mark. It's going to be roughly that pace, so your 10K best pace. Or another way of doing it is you're going to get your fastest mile pace and you're going to add on 30 to 60 seconds because it's going to lie somewhere there. It's just going to depend on whether you're on the side of speed or endurance. So add 30 to 60 seconds and that's going to be your target pace. So this is what a slice of layer cake looks like. So one of your blocks is going to be 2 minutes threshold. Then you go into a 1 minute recovery, as slow as you like, super slow jog. Then another 2 minutes of your threshold pace. And then for 10 seconds, you're going to go all out, nice, fast blast. So this is going to be a sprint for some of you that are used to doing sprints. If you're not used to doing sprints, it's just going to be a really fast run. But we're going to make sure you're nicely warmed up for these. If you're not prepared to do the warm up for these in the beginning, please don't add these on to your block. Each block lasts 5 minutes and 10 seconds, assuming you're doing the sprint at the end. And then I want you to have 2.5 minutes rest in between each one before you set off and do the next. If you're a beginner and you're still working up to running 5K consistently, or you've only just recently managed to run 5K consistently, then you can use the recovery jog in the middle as a brisk walk instead in order to recover. My dog's now playing in the back. Oh no, he's run into his kennel. Beginners, if you fall into the beginner category, I want you to do 3 to 4 of these. 4 to 5 if you fall into the improver category, 5 to 6 if you are in the intermediate category, and then 6 to 8 if you're in the advanced category. So it's up to you how many of these you do. Try and make a decision before you go out. It's always good to have a goal and to actually try and achieve that through the session. Again, if you've overshot it on the speed during the session, you might find you end up having to cut it short. So it's quite a good little monitor of knowing, can you get to the end without it being such a painful experience, to know if you've executed the speed well. Right, so that's it. Nice and simple today. I'm going to go out and do my session. Have a good session 5. Next week we're going to be going a little bit more consistently with what we're doing. So no reps next week, but doing something slightly different. This is where we start to see us knitting these effort sessions together in order to be able to tackle the 5 or 10K again. Also, if you're wondering when the 5K and 10K are going to get slightly different, that'll be after next week, when you'll start going for slightly longer durations, and the 5K will be slightly shorter durations. But for the bulk of the speed training, when it comes to 5 and 10K at the beginning, a lot of it's the same. I'm just doing a little bit of a lunge walk at the moment. It's worth pointing out just let that guy go past. It's worth pointing out that it's worth doing all of your drills today. So your standard dynamic stretches, and then all of your plyometrics. So your skipping, your sidestepping, and different lateral movements as well as the linear movements. You're going to want to go into a good 4 or 5 strides at the end to finish off your warm-up, making sure that you do actually hit top speed on the last couple. We're just going to make sure that you don't pull any muscles when you go and do your fast runs at the end of the blocks. I've just done number 5. These are quite challenging, but manageable. As I said before, if you're not used to doing any kind of sprint training or speed work, or you're new to this, don't worry about the sprints on the end. The blocks are challenging enough without the little sprinkling of icing on the top of that layer cake, which is the 10-second sprint. If you do go for it, 10 seconds is not a long time at all. I just counted it and it was like 30 paces for me, 31, 32 paces, something like that. Fast, obviously. Anyway, I gotta get going. God, that wasn't a long break. Hang on a minute. Oh no, I've got an extra minute. God, I thought that went quickly. I'm not quite recovered yet. I'm going to do 1 to 3 more. I haven't made a decision yet. I made a decision to do 6, but I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling tired but strong, so I might do 8. Right, see you at the end. That is 8 repetitions done. I've got a few little things to tell you about how the session went for me. A few little tips that you may or may not find useful. I just got to go and let myself become a little bit more coherent, get a drink of water, start stretching off, and I'll let you know. So it's really good to go out with a plan and know how many of these you plan on doing. So I went out and planned on doing 6. While I found them challenging, and I did slowly start to fatigue as the blocks went on, so probably especially number 5, 6 were a bit more challenging, but I did have enough left in the tank. So by about rep 5 I did make the decision to change and go to 8, and I did the session on a route, so I didn't stick to any particular area. Sometimes when there was an up and a downhill, I would maybe go back on myself on the uphill and do the recovery on the up. It's just a little bit psychologically more pleasing, even though your pacing is aimed for flat ground, so you've got to allow for the fact that when you're going uphill, you are going to slow down a little bit, and when you go downhill you might pick up the pace slightly. So, you know, if you do the first few on flat, you're going to get a feel for what the effort feels like, and then it doesn't matter if it sort of starts to undulate in the later blocks, because you know what it feels like. So I'm supposed to be stretching, I'm still sort of like recovering. So other things that I found is that it's your muscles that will begin to fatigue more on the later repetitions, and you might struggle with leg turnover, especially in the second part of your block, just before the sprint. And sprints are quite hard, so it's actually really, really hard. It's just the final 10-second real push, to be honest. Certainly not reaching sprint speed on the later ones. But if you're finding that you're recovering in your 2.5-ish minutes in between each, then you're good to go for another one. Now, actually, that said, where I've got the 10 seconds at the end of the 5-minute block, I allowed my watch to continue, so I wasn't stop-starting my watch. So, for instance, my watch came to 5 minutes 10, and I allowed it to get to 8 minutes. So it was actually a 2-minute 50-second break that I had in between each. I just kind of like rounded it up and then just set off on an even number again, so it was easy to follow that way for me. But what might work equally well is having your watch on and just using a stopwatch. I love stopwatches for these, especially if you begin to recognise the effort. You don't need to be clock watching if you know what your effort feels like. So anyway, I'm going to get on and stretch properly. Quite enjoyable. Hot, but the breaks do help, so you don't overheat too much because you've got enough time to recover and cool off. But I do suggest getting out early. Have a good one, guys. Let me know how it goes.